Who are you, what's your role, and who do you work for?
All right, thanks. Good to be here. My name is Gaurav Rishi. I'm the VP of Product, and I also look at cloud native partnerships here at Veeam. And the product that I look at is Kasten, which is the #1 Kubernetes data protection leader.
And what news do you want to share with us today?
Here we are at Salt Lake City at KubeCon, and really what we are really excited to talk about is our latest and greatest release of Kasten Veeam, and that is really Kasten version 7.5.
And what problem does Kasten solve?
Again, the scaling new heights is like the tagline, and the reason that is so in vogue with what we are trying to do out here is with Kasten version 7.5, we actually are going ahead and have 3 key capabilities that we really solve for our customers. Number 1, we've actually gone and seen people have bigger and bigger deployments of Kubernetes, and that means you need to protect your data because a lot of your applications now are critical. So we can go and handle large scales. Number 2, we actually go ahead and support modern virtualization. It's the buzz out here where you now actually can have not only cloud native workloads, you can also have virtual machines running on Kubernetes. And so it's really important to be able to protect that with things like OpenShift virtualization and other partners like Infinidat. And that's super important for us too. And number 3, evergreen, it's security. Kubernetes and Veeam Kasten definitely is your last line of defense. That's something that we've taken to the next level, and I can definitely talk more.
Can you share a little bit more about the before and after of this product announcement?
Sure. Like we were saying, if you were to go and talk about how scale worked, now people have lots of small files, for example. There might be millions, tens of millions of files. We have customers who want to go ahead and make sure that those are seamlessly protected. So it's really important when you go ahead and protect them, the time it takes for you to back up and actually restore them is as small as possible. And the reason that's important is you want to keep your business continuity in order. And so with version 7.5, before it could take a long time. Now we've seen speeds which are more than 3x faster when it comes to even diverse environments like that. So that's super critical. The second one, I think, in the context of security, we've continued to expand our ecosystem. So before, you did not have customers who could go ahead and support immutable storage on Google Cloud Storage. Now you can make sure that your backups are completely safe and resilient to any kind of tampering with environments like that. We've also got governments who actually use Kasten, and so we also support multi-cluster FIPS, which is a standard that makes sure that your cryptographic algorithms are super secure, and we make that a reality too. And finally, in the context of modern virtualization, where I was saying that you can now have virtual machines also running on Kubernetes, we've also announced support for SUSE virtualization. So in addition to OpenShift virtualization, we also have another option for our customers.
Is Kasten open source and part of the CNCF landscape?
So Kasten is not an open source project. We definitely are a part of the CNCF landscape in context of making sure all of your databases, your storage systems is something that we go ahead and secure. And the way Kasten itself is architected is we have actually gone ahead and contributed Canister as a sandbox project to CNCF. And what Canister is actually a way to go ahead and write blueprints in terms of being able to define that when you go ahead and back up complex applications or databases, you can do it at a logical level. So we've got the integrations with the storage vendors through CSI interfaces. We've also got direct integrations, whether it's file or block storage. But now we also go ahead and support the granularity for blueprints that you yourself can author using Canister, using things like Postgres databases or MongoDB or anything else that you might have running either in your own Kubernetes clusters, or you can even have databases as a service. So think about Amazon RDS, for example.
What's Veeam's business model?
Veeam is first of all the #1 market leader when it comes to Kubernetes, as well as all the other workloads when it comes to data protection. So data resilience is really our core business, and our business model is really to make sure that as the data doubles almost in context of customers going ahead and creating it, so every year we are seeing a doubling of data. So in that context, our business model is fairly simple, aligned with what our customers' goals are, and in the context of Kasten, we very much go ahead and charge people on a per node basis. So we don't tax you on the growth of data, but we want to go ahead and make sure that as your applications become more widely adopted, you're continuously protected, and turning it to be $1 per node with annual basis. You can buy it through your marketplaces or through thousands of distributors that Veeam has as partners is something that we support.
Who are your main competitors?
To be honest, the biggest competitor we have is people who have the misnomer thinking that, hey, because I'm in the cloud, I'm somehow protected, and they sometimes confuse application availability with going ahead and doing data protection. Just fat thumbing and making sure that that data that you have gone ahead and destroyed, either by mistake, or today we think about ransomware attacks hitting the headlines almost every time. That's something that you need to go ahead and protect. So just that awareness is, I think, problem number one, and we need to sort of go ahead and educate, and events like this are super important for us to do. And I think the second competition, if you will, is people who might have started small, might have thought of Kubernetes just being a stateless system, which was true probably 10 years ago, but definitely not true now. In fact, the most popular workload on Kubernetes as a workload is databases, for example, which by definition are stateful, so you need to obviously protect them. And so in that context, what might have happened is they might have written some amount of small scripts themselves to go and do backups. But as you know, backups are only as good as the recovery. So to go ahead and be able to recover that seamlessly while keeping that operational time small is really where we go ahead and make sure that customers who ran into the problem now come to Kasten and we help them with that. So that's the second class.
What differentiates Kasten and Veeam from the competition more broadly in the cloud-native ecosystem?
That's a great question. So we are laser focused on just making sure data resilience is at the heart of whatever we do. So first of all, just that day in, day out of going ahead and making sure, doesn't matter what is the workload, whether it's virtual machines, whether it's Microsoft 365, whether it's Kubernetes, we've got you protected as an enterprise, regardless of whichever workload you are. The second thing which is really important is when it comes to working at enterprise scale, it really means being able to go ahead and reduce the time it takes for you to be able to go ahead and recover with confidence. So for us, that's really important. And the third one is, like I said, security is something that is top of mind. It's reached the board level. And to be able to go ahead and say, look, we've got your back when it's about ransomware protection, but also not only when we want to recover, but also give you the early indicators and make sure that you don't get in those situations wherever possible. So we are very complementary to a lot of the security products that you see out here on the Kubernetes side, and that's where it makes us a number one market leader in this.
What can we expect next from Kasten and Veeam?
Lots of exciting things. I think I mentioned some of the trends out here. So as more and more virtual machines come into Kubernetes, I think we have a lot of people who are now loving the way Kubernetes is not just a technology, but also a way of working in terms of the DevSecOps. So we go ahead and bring that to the picture, and so you can see us going ahead and innovating on that. We also will go ahead and see a lot more going on in terms of people consuming Kasten in different ways, whether it's through our partners, which are what we call the VCSPs, running it as a service, but we'll definitely see a lot more capabilities come up in that. And I think we are going to continue to grow our partnerships across the ecosystem, whether it's security, more storage companies, as well as more databases using some of the open source frameworks that I talked about.